Hi, so today I would like to share with you a technique that I've been using with my clients, developing that can be used for both for self-regulation in case you're overwhelmed or anxious, but also to help you process strong emotions or not necessarily even strong emotions. So you can work with anxiety, sadness, overwhelm, anger in similar fashion. So in the basis of this technique, we are going to be using fidget or stim toys. Now we've got a selection here of the kind of fidget toys that I give to my clients in case they would like to hold them. Some do and some don't. And so the usual use for this stim toys is for regulating in case of there is intense, usually physiological agitation, but of course on the physiological part there could be an emotional component. Hence indirectly they also help to regulate the emotional state. And usually one would just hold a tool like this in the hands and maybe will not think about it. So like literally do something else while fidgeting, uh, fidgeting a toy. So here we are going to make the process firstly more mindful in the way of taking something. Like it can be even as simple as a pine cone in this case. And starting with noticing how that feels in your hands, the way it looks, the way this, maybe even the sounds you can hear kind of from rustling of kind of the elements of the pine cone as you track them with your fingers. And that in itself already, so what we're engaging in here is auditory, visual, and kinesthetic elements of something that's outside you. So in case there are strong emotions on the inside, that helps you to ground yourself in the world outside. And of course, that's something that's present in many therapy methods, like for example, acceptance and commitment therapy, like dropping in anchor technique, probably got a similar elements to this. But we are going to take it one step further. So I'm going to put it down for a sec, and now we're going to start with the feeling that inside. So for example, if I feel anxious or overwhelmed and I'm noticing that, okay, something is off, I feel too agitated, jumpy, anxious, there may be an obsessive thinking loop that's happening that's linked to that anxiety. I'm gonna ask myself a question. Okay, so that anxiety, that agitation that I'm feeling, where inside my body is that? And just for an example, say it's something I'm feeling in my stomach, like butterflies in the stomach. And I might notice the way it feels, whether, what kind of color it could be, whether it's light or heavy, whether it's hot or cold, if it has a shape or a texture, even if I was to imagine touching it, what would that feel like? So I'm giving it different sensory elements. Again, auditory, kinesthetic, and visual. And then we are going to do, we're going to take the elements of the feeling, we're going to take a stim toy, and we're going to go from one to another. So for example, I'm starting from the safe place, for example, having something that's I'm used to, like this pine cone in my hand. And I'm gonna breathe. I'm gonna look at it. I'm gonna listen to the sound it makes in my hand. I'm gonna feel the sensations in my fingertips. And then I've done that for a few seconds. I'm gonna gently bring my attention to that anxiety in my stomach. And point attention to that again. How does it see, hear, or feel there inside that anxiety? Once I've done that for a little bit, I'm going to bring my attention back into the pine cone and focus on how that feels now, which may or may not be the same. And then focus back on the anxiety inside. Spend a few seconds with that. Once that feels enough, focus back on the pine cone, and then back and forth a few times. And during that process, that is likely to evolve and change the way that feeling, in this case anxiety, feels in my stomach. That's one thing I can do. Another thing you can do is to change the way you're interacting with an object. So for example, you can handle it faster or opposite, slower. There could be harder pressure or lighter pressure. You can change other ways, so you can make it sound in different ways, or sound might not be important, but in any case you're changing the way you're interacting with the object, and then point an intention inwards and say, okay, does it change the way that feeling feels on the inside? Again, that's maybe yes, no. And see, we are not trying necessarily to extinguish the anxiety. We are not trying to completely remove the feeling. What we are doing here, we are with curiosity looking on the inside, interacting with it as we're interacting with the object, and allowing in this way for this feeling to be processed. So it stops being just a self-regulation tool, but it also becomes an emotional processing tool. So try it for yourself. You can do it with any object, and depending of course which emotion you're working with, the object can change. For example, if you'd like to feel stable and grounded, you can pick like a rock, something that's heavy. If you would like to soothe agitation, you can pick a smooth object, the object that maybe feels warm in your hands. So yeah, it's really adjusting the object you pick depending on what emotion you're working with.